Hello everybody, this is Conquering History Games, and welcome back to the Kaiserreich Progress Reports. I know that I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus from Kaiserreich, but I have since returned, and so with my return to Kaiserreich is going to be my return to the Progress Reports and Minor Monday reports as well, detailing the development of the submod. So of the mod, not the submod. So, there is a bit of catching up to do. But I thought I would talk about the most recent one that has come out, the one of the CSA. As I'm sure many of you already know, and as I've mentioned, the Americas are going to get reworked quite a bit in the next update. And so this is going to be the rework for the combined Syndicates of America. So we have a section of the focus tree here, just kind of showing the army. Looks like you can choose between Red National Guard and the People's Liberation Army. So I'm guessing this is going to give some sort of defensive bonuses. This gives you the offensive bonuses, a little bit like the old focus tree did, where there was a branch where you can get additional attack and defense when you're on your core territory and things like that. So it looks like no matter what, you're going to get some bonuses to tank. So it looks like it's going to be pretty encouraged for you to go mechanized and tank heavy. I guess because you're getting the industrial part of the world. That's probably also going to make them decently strong during the Civil War, since they're going to have, depending on how long the new Civil War is going to go. Obviously, we don't know exactly how that plays out yet, but if tanks get involved, it looks like the CSA is going to have a bit of an advantage. Then over here, we've got lightning warfare. Of course, that must be something related to mobile warfare. And then decentralized command. So I'm not totally sure what this is, because when I look at these trees here, you've got industrial warfare into shock and awe, so presumably that maybe is superior firepower. Over here is centralized command and officer training. That's gotta be grand battle plan. So I figure it's superior firepower, grand battle plan, mobile warfare, and then mass assault, just by process of elimination. Or at least I hope it kind of works out that way, because one of the things I like about the CSA is that it is the only American faction that gets access to all four land doctrines. And of course, both eventually lead down here, so you can get some firearms or tank research, logistics. There's rocket stuff here, artillery support. So this kind of lends credence to what I think that this is going to be the superior firepower branch here. Also, anti-air artillery gets a buff, which I think is pretty cool. You don't really see something specifically for anti-air very often. Then there's the Air Force over here, aviation units, air supremacy, air support, bombers or fighters, pretty standard stuff. Red Navy, there's destroy capitalism, cut off capitalism, so I'm not so sure, because this is carrier efforts. You see cut off capitalism, that implies to me trade interdiction, but then there's the carrier efforts right below it. But the battleship efforts, I'm pretty darn sure this is going to be the fleet in being over here. Also, you have your Revolutionary Marines, so you actually get access to Marines before anything else. So if you're not too interested in a Navy per se, but you do want the Marines, there they are. All right, let's keep going down here. So armies of the people are being organized and whatnot. All right, so the revolution is over. You're going to have your second constitutional convention to figure out how the new America is going to be organized. And it looks like the name of the country will change depending on who wins. So there is the Union of Socialist American States. I believe this is going to be the totalist or vanguardist, I should say, version of the United States. Over here we have the Commonwealth of America. So we have Commonwealth of America and Socialist Republic of America. I'm thinking the Commonwealth is if you have the radical socialists take charge, and then the Socialist Republic of America might be the kind of federalist, middle-of-the-line ones. Tough to say, really. And of course, Chicago seems to be the capital. I don't know if we're going to still get to pick which city, but that would be a nice detail if we could. All right, People's Democracy. So this is if you go down the Commonwealth path after the Second Constitutional Convention. It seems to be further subdivided into two different economic policies, either the Federalists, so this will kind of be the Central Syndicalists, or the Unionists, which is, of course, the Radical Socialists. You got the Sabo here, the cat, under the General Defense Committee. That's a cute little detail. There also seems to be another pivot here between councilism and federalism, eventually going down to the revolution continues. I do wonder if the revolution continues like last time in the previous iteration, or I should say the current iteration of the CSA is going to give you a different bonus based on which path you go down. I don't know, or if it's that those bonuses are going to be incorporated in whichever economic policy you go down. Also, I'm gonna guess that you can't go down, say, unionist economic policy if you pick the Federalists to be the politicians in charge. Although that could be interesting if you can mix and match, because that's how the Commune of France is set up right now in Kaiserreich. Whoops, sorry. That's how the Commonwealth of France is set up. I mean, not the Commonwealth. The Commune of France is set up right now, where you could, have some Jacobins and syndicalists and radical socialists and form a mixed government. So you could take advantage of, say, using the Jacobin military policy, and then maybe somebody else's economic policy, things like that, or land doctrine, whatever. So we have a big variety of leaders. I believe that the goal for the developers that they've said is they want to have election events going up until the 1952. So we have a whole roster of potential candidates. Of course, not all of these are going to be available all the time. So, of course, we have Jack Reed here. I don't know if that means he runs afterwards. Probably he's still just in charge during the initial revolution, and then he steps down or he dies. And then, of course, we know a lot of these other people here up front. We have Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, Norman Thomas, probably the most famous socialist in American history, William Z. Foster, Earl Browder. Then we're going into the second row here. We have a few new people. Mayor London, James P. Cannon, although some of these people were ministers before, I should say. So you've got James Cannon, Dave Dubinsky, Elizabeth Nord, she's kind of obscure, Henning A. Bloman, Upton Sinclair, who is, of course, very famous for writing The Jungle, writing books criticizing yellow journalism, ran for governor of California a couple of times. I think he's also going to be available in the PSA, but of course, if you win the whole continent over, then he should be available under the CSA. Also, the PSA, Pacific States of America, is not always going to break off just because the Civil War happens anymore. And then we've got something that people have been clamoring for a very long time, the ability to elect a black leader to the CSA. This is Baynard Rustin, who really influential social rights, civil rights, gay rights, non-violence leader in American history, kind of a mentor to Martin Luther King Jr., organized the March on Washington back in 1963, things like that. Super influential dude, praised by both conservatives and liberals in America. Like he's been given awards by Reagan and by President Obama, for example. Anyway, moving on here, we've also got Arturo Giovanni, John Lewis, not that John Lewis, this John Lewis, and then pretty cool here, William E. Rodriguez, first Hispanic man ever elected to the city council in Chicago. He did this while being an open socialist in 1916. So that was before Anton Cermak comes around, and then Chicago's just had like Democratic mayors ever since. I know we're talking about city council, not the mayor, but yeah. So you now have a black option and a Hispanic option. So that's kind of cool. And I'm going to get back to talking about like race and the women in their role later on in this Dev Diary, as we'll see, which is a pretty long one as we see. Progress report, not Dev Diary. So then you've got the vanguardist path. We just talked about the Commonwealth of Labor, and then over here is the vanguardists. So this is the other way. They are basically the equivalent to the Jacobins with some variations. And it's mostly about Foster and Browder's rivalry. They're the ones whose economic policies you are choosing between. What am I saying? The CIA is going to get created if you go down here. You got this dictatorship of the proletariat thing, so I'm guessing there's a lot of centralizing things going on. Of course, we don't know exactly what these focuses do yet, although, like, resource nationalization, obviously that's going to give us resources. Price control, I don't know if that is, like, consumer good factory related. We'll have to wait and see. All right, next, social revolution and reconstruction. So this seems to be the new Reconstruction Tree. Now I don't know the exact dates on these, but the devs have said that not everything is going to be 70-day focuses anymore. And so I think this is going to be the same for everybody. Now, you have to deal with, there's going to be a part where you're dealing with minority rights in America and also women's rights in the new America. So on the right here, you have the destruction of Jim Crow. On the left here, you have the women's liberation. Yeah, this is just a thought I had. I wonder if you can't elect like Flynn, and all the rest of these. Like, for example, if you haven't taken these, I wonder, like, could you elect a black man while Jim Crow's still around? He's probably not going to get elected until the 50s, but we'll see. Now, you see, I noticed here, revolutionary education, so hopefully that's not a 5th research slot that we got to dig down there for, but we'll see. Maybe it could be balanced. Then you've got, finally, the CSA's role, America's role in the international. You're going to have the Reed Doctrine, again, of course. The deal with Mexico, I'm very interested to see how this plays out, because I know whenever I've played as the CSA on like a live stream or something, it's always very controversial, or I've seen other people do it. It's always very controversial. How do you treat Mexico if Mexico takes like California and Texas in them, and then the CSA wins? Do they go to war? Should they reach a deal? It's always very controversial. So we'll see how this goes, and I wonder if that these paths are mutually exclusive. So like if Mexico did not go syndicalist, you would liberate them, and then friendship is only available if they did, and you can't liberate them in that case. But eventually, you have to choose between War Plan Black, which is going to lead into a war with Germany, or War Plan Red, which is going to lead into a war with Canada. However, the progress report here, it makes reference to who you will attack first, and these kind of seem to be connected. I don't know if it's... I just don't know, so maybe there'll be some sort of condition when you finish one, the other opens. I don't know. And then here is the full tree, which is, as you can see, it looks like it's enough to keep you busy. Of course, these two sections are mutually exclusive, as are these. Also, they kept the Rebel Girl, so that's cute. You know, the reference to the song. Yeah, that's it. So it looks good. I'm super excited for the rework. I might actually do another American Union State campaign, which I think was the first Kaiserreich campaign I ever did on the channel. I know this is about the CSA, but definitely interested in seeing the new Civil War and how it all plays out and stuff. Anyway, I'm Conquering History Games. Subscribe if you haven't already, and click the bell so you're always notified whenever a Kaiserreich progress report or another video goes up. You all have yourselves a great day. Bye.